One of the last videos I made, I talk about how to cope with divorce. And today I want to talk about something similar, something that's very related to that topic. And well, it could not really be inside the other video, but I want to expand on that because I think it's very important regarding relationships. And that's actually one of the reasons why many relationships do not work. Sometimes we try something out, we really try hard, we give everything, but somehow at the end of the day, at the end, it's just like does not work. And I think one of the reasons why is because we try to change the other person. We do not accept the other person. And that's something that happened to me, not in all relationships I had, but in the last one, in that marriage that I had, actually, like the longest one, the most meaningful relationship I had, actually. And that's something that I really realize and I really can reflect from my relationship. I tried to change the other person, and there were red flags in the beginning, like things I knew I did not accept completely, or maybe there were things that I was like, okay, maybe he's that way, but he's gonna change because of the culture. Like cultural shock was also a very big problem for me in that case because I was not familiar with his culture and everything. Well, I'm gonna go into details a bit later, but yeah, somehow that was part of the problem. I did not really accept the person as he was, as he showed himself to me, as the way I knew him. And I was like, no, maybe he can change with the time. He can learn from me. He can learn from my culture. I'm going to show him that. And with the time, he's going to learn. And, you know, that doesn't happen. Nobody's going to change for you. So that's something I really want to talk about today and expand on today. Because, yeah, it's something that happens to everybody. Well, not maybe everybody, but almost everybody. And it's one of the main reasons why relationships do not work. One of the reasons why, at the end, even though if you tried your best, things do not work. So it's important to think about that, really realize and acknowledge the situation and learn a few things about it so it doesn't happen again in the next relationship you're going to have. Because the next one, it's going to be a good one. And fortunately, it's going to be the right one. So do not expect your partner to change for you. That's something I consider very important because, like I said before, I think it happens all the time in most of the relationships. And something that happens a lot if you are having problems in your relationship, or if you're about to have a relationship, if you're dating someone, or if you're thinking about getting divorced, or it doesn't matter what relationship you are in, it's very important that you acknowledge the situation and acknowledge really how you're feeling and think about how you feel about that person, what you expect from that person. Do you really accept that person as he is, as she is? Really? Are you sure? Or maybe you're really expecting the person to change something for you or do this and this and that. Because sometimes we are like, oh no, that doesn't happen to me. I accept the person, I accept my boyfriend or my girlfriend the way they are. It doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter. Everything's okay. I know how he is or how she is, and it's okay. I accept the person and I don't have any trouble. I don't try to change anything. So, yeah, you might think about that, and many people say that. For them, it's okay. But when you think about it and when you see the person more often, or sometimes you realize about it, or you yourself, if you think about yourself as well, you might catch yourself or catch the other person also saying like, hey, but this person still hasn't changed or still keep doing this kind of behavior I don't like, and it still hasn't improved, or it still hasn't learned to do this, or oh, this person keeps doing this and that. It doesn't matter how long we have tried or how many times I tell him and he still keeps doing the same thing over and over, or still he doesn't get flowers to me, or he doesn't do this for me, or he doesn't behave like this with me, and I still ask him all the time but he still doesn't do it, and I don't know what to do. So I don't know, sometimes when you realize about those things, you're like, okay, if you're thinking that way, it's because you have not accepted the person as he or as she is, right? You are expecting the person to change something from their behavior, from the way they are, from something for you. And that's something we really need to be aware of. If you find yourself in that kind of thinking, that kind of situation, trying to change something or really expecting something from your partner and really having trouble with it, like, oh, he doesn't still do that, he doesn't want to show me love this way, or he still keeps doing this, whatever, and you really struggle with it, it's because you really have not accepted the person as he or as she is, right? Think about it. Because the first step to improve that situation is to acknowledge it. And I think most of the situations, most of the times when that happens is unconsciously. Of course, you're not really trying to change a person for sure, like, oh, I want this person to change and I want him. It happens, yeah. I know many cases where it has happened before. I know people that have said, oh, like, he's a mess and he's late 30 and he never watches the clothes, or he never does the dishes, or he never does the laundry, or he's very disorganized and I want him to change, and whatever, he has to do this and that and nothing works. So yeah, people sometimes they're conscious about that when it's something that clear, but in most of the cases I have noticed that people, you don't realize about it. And you said, yeah, I accept the person, I don't expect the person to change, but you are actually expecting a change from that person, an improvement in that certain kind of behavior in your life, right? So think about it, and that's very important because most of the cases are unconscious. You don't realize about it, but if you think about it, you might notice some patterns, some behaviors, some thoughts from you. So analyze yourself and think about it for sure, or think about the other person really. What is the other person asking from you? Do you feel accepted? Do you feel loved? Do you feel really like you are being accepted the way you are, or you are expected to be changed, be something you are not, or be better because some kind of your behavior, something that you do is not right for them? Think about it, because the first step that you need to do is to be aware of that, be conscious about it, like really realize about it and acknowledge it. Yes, I'm trying to change that person. Yes, I actually am asking something from this person that is not usual, that I want in my life. I want this person to do for me, maybe, or for my family, or for whoever, or for himself as well, could be. But it's not the way he is. So think about it. And if you caught yourself in that situation, yeah, the first step, acknowledge it, or be aware of that, acknowledge it, and then realize that you're not going to change the person. You have to accept your partner, also your friends. It applies for everybody, not just for your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, but for your whole social circle, for your friends, for your family. Accept the people as they are. And of course, the most important in that case is your partner, because you live with that person every single day. So you have to deal with that thing you don't accept every single day. And that's awful. That's really a burden. And if you don't do it, if you don't do that work inside yourself, and if you don't accept it, it's not going to work. The other person is not going to change for you. That's 100% sure. So in the case that you say, okay, maybe that's not my case, actually I do really accept the other person as it is, we don't have any problems about that's not our issue, or we don't have any issues, we're good, well, great. But in the case that you realize about it and you're like, actually that's something that's happening to me right now. Either if you do it, if you're the one pretending or expecting a change from the other person, or the other way around, you are the one that is, someone expects a change from you. It's not nice, right? So if that's the case, and if that's happening to you, I want to talk about some facts that is important for you to take into account in order to deal with this situation, cope with this situation better, understand it better, and find a solution for it. The first thing you need to really understand is that nobody, absolutely nobody, is going to change for you. If you say it, if you're like, yeah, like you need to change because of this, even if it's for the benefit of the other person, like, hey, you have to be more organized, more punctual because that's better for you and you have to do it for you. Maybe it's not because of your own self-interest, but also because you worry about the other person. But the person is not going to change just because you say so. Even if the person is conscious about it, the more you push, the more you're going to be there, like, hey, trying to control what the person does and trying to change the person, the more resistance you're going to create, the less it's going to work. So forget about that. Nobody's going to change for you. Even if the person says he loves you or she loves you with heart by heart, and you are the most wonderful, the most important person in his or in her life, and yeah, they would do everything for you. It doesn't matter. They're not going to change for you. The only way that they would change is if they really realize about it, reflect upon themselves, and they're willing to make a change. But that's something that they are the only ones they can do it. And it doesn't matter how many times you try to change it, how many times you say it, it's not going to work if they don't make the decision to do it by themselves. And it could be years, it could be a whole life. I know people that it's life passes by and expecting the other person to change, and it never happens. So don't do it. Do not expect anybody to change for you. Also applies for friends. Nobody's going to do it for you. Don't expect anything from anybody, especially that they're going to change anything for you. So why is this important? Because as I said before, the more you try to change the other person, the more you push, the more resistance is going to be created. The more the person is going to be resentful as well. It's not nice. Think about how you feel when other people criticize you and try to change you. I'm sure it happened to you, maybe not many times, but at least once in your life. And what has happened, even if the other people are right, it doesn't feel nice, right? Like, hey, you have to change this. Why? Because you say so? If I change, it's because I want to do it, not because you say so, right? So forget about it. I'm not going to change just because you say it. And it feels like that, right? That happens when people want to control you, to change something from you, to force a behavior from you. They create resistance, and it's not nice. It's not comfortable. Even if they're right, you might know that it's right, but it's not nice, and you create like more resistance. And not just that, it also might create some resentment on the other person as well. It might affect the self-esteem of the other person. Even if the other person is right, even if you're right and you're like, okay, you're very disorganized or impunctual, or you're a chaos, or too shy, or too boring, whatever, or I don't know, whatever they say, it has some influence on the self-esteem. Because then the other person says, or the other person might think, okay, I am not loved, I am not accepted the way I am, I'm not right, I'm not okay, there's something wrong with me. And that happens many times as well when you are criticized, when you are not really loved the way you are, and you are expected to change. It feels different. It doesn't feel that you are being appreciated, right? So that might even create a long-term problem in your relationship. Instead of helping and creating a solution and improving your relationship, it might create like a big problem that is due cost to self-esteem issues on the other person, on resentment on the other person. The other person might be resentful with you and might not really feel that he or she loves you the same way anymore, or it might have different implications. It's such a complex topic, so that's why if you feel you are not being accepted the way you are, you don't feel welcome in the place of that other person, right? In the life of the other person. If I'm not welcomed, why would I stay? I don't feel happy that way, right? So that's something very important, and you really need to take that into account. Even if it's for the benefit of the other person, the more you push, the more you try to change the other person, most of the cases happens that you create the opposite effect, and it's not nice. So an exercise that you really can do to understand that situation better is to put yourself in the shoes of the other person, really. Feel like that way, like being criticized, like being expected to change, being in that same situation. How would you feel? Would you really like it? Would you change? Really? it's a good exercise, and really try to understand the other person from that perspective and understand that there's nothing really you can do about it. That's why it's important to make sure who you're going to be with before starting a relationship. Really making sure that you accept the person as he or she is, right? And that's it. The person's not going to change. It could happen anyways. That, of course, nobody's perfect. You have things you can improve, you can change. The same happen with your partner. It happens, it's okay. That doesn't mean that you want to change the other person. And you really need to understand the difference between that, trying to change the person, or just like understand that everybody has the little things to improve as yourself as well. And we all can work on that. But that doesn't mean you really have to force the other person to change, or really might want to try the other person to change, or expect the other person to do it. So in the case, of course, there's things that you might want the other person to improve or maybe do for you. So in that case, criticize is the worst thing you can do, or ask or really expect the other person to change. Like by heart, you really need to drop it. Like in your heart, in your soul, you really need to drop the expectation and really accept it. Like it's okay. And if you want something, like I don't know, like, oh, it'd be nice if this person gives me flowers, or if he does the dishes more often. You can, in that case, be the example for whatever you want to do. First of all, be the example and invite the person to do things together. Hey, let's organize, or let's do this. Come on, honey, let's do whatever. And do it in a nice way, like, hey, let's do it together. Because it's not like just him, you as well. And of course, you don't want to do it all by yourself. You want the other person to be in the same process, or to do the same, right? Just an example, depending on the case. So be more positive about that and be the example. Show the person what you want. Not like, hey, this is what you have to do, and say, no, don't do that. but do it more often. Do it with that person. Like, be yourself with the other people the way you want to be treated. And that really applies to everything, to all kind of friends, family, and to your partner as well. If you want more love, if you want more affection, show the person more affection. Show how you really want to be loved or treated. Or if you want him to cook from time to time, okay, then cook for him as well. It's an example. And then if he still doesn't do it, or if the person still doesn't do it, okay, honey, let's do it. Come. Oh, look at how nice this is, and try to find like the nice about doing this activity. In that case, you're not expecting the other person to change. You're not asking the other person to change something. You are inviting him to do something together. You are showing him how to do this in a better way, and how life is actually much better that way. And after trying that strategy and maybe still doesn't work, like, oh, he's still being the same way, or she keeps doing that, but still hasn't learned to do that, or he hasn't learned to be clean and do the dishes and be organized, and he only does it with me, but he's not able to do it alone. Just an example. It applies for many other things, right? In that case, of course, talking to that person is okay. Not about changing that situation, but hey, like, really, it's important we keep the place clean and organized and tidy, and for my health is also better. But still, do not really push it or try to change it. You met that person that way. You can try to help improve the situation a little bit more, show with your example. But if that's the way you met the person, big chances are going to be that the person's not going to change. You can teach with example, and that's the best you can try. If it still doesn't work, you have two options. The first one is to let it be. Accept it. Like I said before, you met this person that way. That's the way you met this person. That's the way he was, or she was. You have to accept it. And if the problem is really big, that you realize, like, hey, it's really affecting my life, my happiness, we're having big problems because of that, and I can't really accept it or deal with it because it's really affecting our lives, or affecting your self-esteem or your self-love or the way you feel, your happiness, your peace, your calmness, if it's really not working, then you really need to make a decision and stop expecting the other person to change, because that's a problem maybe. Why? Because you have been there all of this time, right? Because you expected a change, it hasn't happened, but you're not happy, and it's a burden for you. You really do not really, you don't know what to do with it. You cannot face it anymore. You cannot deal with it anymore. You see no solution for that, and you cannot keep expecting the person to change, because it's not going to happen. So in that case, you really need to make a decision. Be consequent. Okay, it's not working, we cannot be together anymore because of this or that, and that's how it is. But you have to put yourself first, your happiness first. But do not involve the other person, forcing the other person to change or doing something they do not really want or they're not gonna do, because really it's more likely like it's not gonna work. And that's why it's very important to accept the person from the very beginning as he or as she is. If he's disorganized, if he's like this, okay, there's chances that it's going to change and improve with your example, and then by having nice conversations and by working on that together, but really not expecting and pushing the other person to change, because that's not going to happen. Make a decision as well when it's needed, and be very cautious. The time you are with someone, if you're dating someone, be cautious. Think about, okay, you really like the person the way he is. Can you leave the person for the rest of your life the way this person is right now? Don't think like, oh, he might change this or that, or if he or if she learns this or that, and it's gonna be fine, and it's gonna learn, and it's gonna... No. Right now, would you marry this person right now? Would you live that way or this way with this person every single day for the rest of your life? All of us have mistakes and flaws. But if you're okay with it, if that's fine for you, then do it. Have something with that person. Go ahead, try it out. And if not, forget about it. Even if you like the person so much, oh, I like everything, but just this little problem, if only that would change, and we can try it out, we can work it out, and he only has to change that. But if it's really bugging you, don't count or don't expect really the other person to change. Just be consequent, be clear to yourself, and no, it's not gonna work, sorry. Then it's the other person's decision. If because of that, the person might start changing, or might start really realizing about it and say, okay, actually it's something that I want to change as well, and might start working on it. Okay, that's fine. But that's only up to the other person, and that's something you do not really have to expect. If eventually it works, the person changes, and then you meet again, and then it works, you can try it out, and yeah, that would be great if it works. But if not, yeah, drop it. And like all the time, I like to give examples from my own experience, from my own life. And as I talked before about my divorce, yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. It was mostly because of the cultural shock that I had. I was, I'm from Colombia, and I met this wonderful guy. I still love him so much, like a very good friend. We were best friends while we studied together. And it was very nice. We were really good friends. But I knew there were many things that maybe like as a couple, as partners, it would not really work that well, because I did not feel like that connection sometimes. Like friendship and many other things, we were best friends, we would understand very well, but something was kind of missing. And well, I forgot about that. I was like, okay, it's fine. There were like a few things that I realized from the beginning that was the reason why I was hesitating, like, should I try? Should I give it a try? Should we work it out? One of them was more like the part of the affection. In Colombia, especially with my family, we like give and receiving hugs the whole time. Physical touch for me is very important, like to receive hugs, to be touched, to receive kisses as well. Like this physical love, physical affection, hugging the whole time. Yeah, that's the way I am. And for him, maybe not for many German people, but for some German people, if you compare cultures, Germans are usually more reserved, zurückhaltend, than Colombians. That's clear. But his case was also about his personality. And that was one of the problems we had. There were like many other reasons, not the only reason why it did not work, but that had influence. That was just like a small example that I knew it was not gonna work, and I still tried because I thought it was something more like from the culture, and he's gonna learn. I'm gonna show him how Colombians we are, and he's gonna like it. So I was like, how come he's not gonna like it? I love giving hugs. How come he's not gonna like it? Of course, he's gonna learn about it. For me, it was like I was not really thinking that I was expecting him to change in the future, but I was. I was really expecting him to change, and I was like, okay, maybe with the time he's gonna learn. Maybe he's shy, and he's gonna feel more confident later on. He's gonna show him his feelings in a different way, the way I do. And I waited, and I got to know his family. Wonderful people, by the way. But I realized that this physical way of loving was not a characteristic of his family. It's just different. I mean, like, I'm very physical, and they were lovely, sweet, friendly, wonderful people that, yeah, they would not touch that much. They would hug like this, hi, hi. And honestly, I felt like, they don't appreciate me that much, or they don't like me that much. Because that's the way we are in Colombia. So, of course, it has to do with the culture as well. But they're not going to change. He didn't change because it was his culture, and that's what he told me about before. He was like, no, that's the way I am. That's how I was raised. I don't need to be giving hugs the whole time, or I don't feel like kissing you on the street or whatever, so I'm not gonna do it. And yeah, that never changed. And that's something that I really learned, and really, that's why I'm saying from the beginning, if you notice something that you don't like and you say like, okay, like this, I would never live that way, cut it out. Cut it out completely, because it's not gonna work. The chances are the person is not gonna change for you, because we're different. Everybody's different. What for you maybe it's spiritual, it's very nice. For the other person, it's different, and it's not as important as it's for you. So it's necessary to keep that in mind, and also be cautious in future dating scenarios you can have. Because later, after my divorce, then I had like dating sanity as well, and then I was realizing about it as well, like, hey, actually I'm trying to change that person. And he was telling me as well, like, hey, like, I am like this, why you're trying to make me do this or do that? And then I was like, hey, I'm doing it again. So that's something else I really learned after my divorce, and later after overcoming my divorce and the whole topic about that. But it really is something you have to consider before starting a relationship when you are in the dating process from the very beginning. Think about it. The more you do it, the better you do this process, the better it's going to work out for you and end up in a very beautiful relationship. All my love to you.